Well, I've heard Brazilians describe us as very cold and businesslike, which is true
Yeah,
for the most part.
yeah,
Which is true. We're not very. A lot of us are not very animated. As animated as they are, we're not as as touchy feely or you know what I'm saying. We're not as gregarious as a lot of Brazilians are in general, and
hmm
they say we're very focused.
hmm
You know what I'm saying, which is true for the most part. Uh, they think that a lot of them think we're rich. I had
yeah.
a I had a Uber driver in Belo Horizonte. I was talking to him, and he literally thought the streets were paved with gold here in the United States. And I had to explain to him, no, no way, no way. I said, no, man, you got people, you got poor people, you got more poor people than people with money in the United States. You got poor
Yeah,
people, you got rich people. Sure, you got a lot of rich people in the United States, but it's not what you think it is. You're gonna be
yeah,
working like
yeah,
everybody else.
yeah. They think it's Dubai. They think it's like
Yeah,
where they get rid of the homeless people. Like, no, we got homeless people attacking
yeah,
people on drugs. Like, I
yeah.
don't know where I don't. It's kind of ignorant for them. And you would think with social media and the internet like that, people wouldn't actually think that. Like who? Why did they? Maybe 50 years ago, but today I don't see how they could think
No.
that. Yanis Simmons sent $20 for Dennis. Have you been to the DR? If yes, in your opinion, which country has the better looking women? Just curious for your opinion. Thank you for the super chat.
I have not been in Dominican Republic. I've been to Colombia once. A lot of people like to compare. A lot of guys like to compare Colombian women to Brazilian women. I will say this. I would say that Colombian women are prettier, but Brazilian women are sexier. You know what I'm saying? To use a boxing analogy, I've said this before several times before on other podcasts. To use a boxing analogy, Colombia is faster and quicker, but Brazil hits harder.
I would 100% agree. Now, Colombia does have some sexy, beautiful women too, but it's in Brazil. You can't get away from it. You can they're dedicated to the gym, and
I think
there's
Brazil has more variety too.
more variety. Like for example, when I was in Medellin, I was complaining about it, and I said, "Oh, all these girls look like cousins. Like they all look alike." And
Right.
people were trying to argue me, no, they don't. White skin, black hair.
Mm-hmm.
All of them had that, just about 90%. So, but if you go to Cali, Colombia, you get a little more diversity, but it's not like Brazil. Like I can walk outside here in Sao Paulo and I can see a white girl with green eyes and ginger, and then I see the same one with brown eyes and
Mm-hmm.
then with blue eyes. And like I was saying earlier, Salvador, Rio, all that stuff is completely different. And Belo Horizonte has a lot of mixed girls with the curly fros and the blonde hair. Like it's completely different
Yeah.
when it comes to the variety in Brazil. So my next question was, how has your experience in Brazil affected your identity as a Black American man?
Say that again. How was my
How has
experience? What?
how has your experience in Brazil affected your identity as a Black American man?
Not at all. Not at all. It hasn't affected anything. My identity as a Black American male, not at all.
Good, good.
Not at all.
So when it comes to mindset, what advice would you give to other Black Americans that are considering moving to Brazil?
Well, before you move there, before you decide to move there, visit a few times. Because I get
Hmm
this question sometimes on my channel. Don't just up and move to Brazil. Visit a few times. Uh, Meet people, make connections, see the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there is ugly. And then make a decision on whether you want to move there or not. Don't just up and just move there because you don't know anything. You don't know anybody. You don't know the ins and outs yet. You don't know who's who and what's what. Visit a few times first, and then decide on whether you want to live there or not.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of already answered this question. So, what are some common misconceptions that Americans have Brazil? Same way they think that the streets are paved with gold for whatever reason. What are some things that people think about Brazil? I'll give you one example: is the HIV rate. The United States has
Yeah,
a higher HIV rate than Brazil.
yeah, I've heard that one. I've heard that one. I've heard that. oh, those women down there don't like you. They just want a green card. I get so sick of hearing that. Let me tell
It's
y'all
old.
something. It's old. Let me tell y'all something. And I have a lot. I think I have a lot of authority to speak on this. A lot of the women down there don't want to come to the United States. Okay, they don't want to come to the United States. They don't want to leave their family, their culture, their language to go to another country with some gringo they barely know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So sure, you got some of them that do want to, but most of them don't. Most of them don't. They will prefer that you come live there with them.
Yeah.
Another misconception that I hear a lot, or the Brazilian women are easy, which is for the most part not true.
Yeah.
That Brazil is this sexually promiscuous place or whatever. I would say that most of Brazil is pretty conservative.
Mhm.
I mean, if you're talking about Rio is, for example, hookup culture. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But other cities in Brazil are not like that.
Mhm. For example, I went on a date last night, and the chick, usually if you go on a date with a chick, this is worldwide, and she goes with you from one spot to the
Mhm.
next. The third spot is the house.
Right.
But we went from one spot to the next, and she wasn't even trying to give me a kiss, but she was like, "Let's meet again tomorrow."
Yeah.
So it wasn't that same hookup culture like it is in Rio. Even Salvador moves at a way slower pace, and Recife as well. So that is kind of Rio. That's just like the hookup culture like that. I mean, you can hook up anywhere, but
Right.
on
But in
as a
general,
destination, yeah.
case
So,
in point.
huh?
One more thing.
Huh?
Like like when I went to Salvador, one of the things I was running into is that one of the first questions a lot of the women ask me is that, do you live here, or are you just passing through? And then when you tell them that you're passing through, they immediately lose interest. You know what I'm saying? So they want somebody that's there. You know what I'm saying? They don't want somebody just gonna smash and dash.
Yeah, I would agree. So, Timothy O'Reilly sent €5. He says you could only live in Rio on $15 a month if you had a roommate who was also earning the same amount and you split bills. Do you believe that?
Yeah, again, it depends on where in Rio you live.
Yeah.
It depends on where. What neighborhood are you staying in? Are you staying in Zona Sul? Are you staying in or near favela? Where are you living?
I tell you what, for $1,500 a month, you can live great if you move to Madrueta. Last time I was over there was a dude outside directing traffic with a tech
Wow.
and a mask on.
Wow.
Yeah. But you can survive all 1,500 there for sure. So, can you talk about the Brazilian concept of jeitinho and how it impacts daily life?
Jeitinho,
Mm-hmm.
the Brazilian way.
Mm-hmm.
In what regard? O jeitinho brasileiro?
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Like,
like
for example, you talked about how things move slower, and like that's we're just in Brazil. That's just how it is here. Well, how does that affect your daily? How does the Brazilian way and the way how they do things? How do you notice your life is different? Like in the United States, everything is prompt, on time, early. Everything is
well,
efficient.
like I said, your patience will get tested in Brazil. Your
Hmm.
patience will get tested. There have been many instances where I almost lost my cool, but I had to stop and remind myself, hey, I'm not in the United States, I'm in Brazil, things work differently here. And I calmed down. So as long as you recognize that fact, there are some things that are aggravating, like some Brazilian business people, or when you do business with some Brazilians, they try to do the bait and switch tactic on you. You know what I'm saying? Case in point, my man Al Grease, he asked me to put him on with a person who rents boats. So I put him on with a guy who rents boats in Rio. So when Al Grease gets to Rio, he rents a boat from the guy, but the guy brings him a different boat than what he ordered. So that type of stuff, little stuff like that, or people trying to take advantage, stuff like that. But to me, the positives outweigh the negatives. The positives outweigh the negatives.
So would you say that maybe that doesn't happen to Brazilians amongst themselves? Maybe they're just doing that because
Yeah, it
they know
does. It does.
it
I mean,
does.
it happens amongst Brazilians. You get what we call gringo gouging,
Yeah. Yeah.
where if they know you're a gringo, they'll try to charge you more.
Yeah.
You know, okay,
Yeah.
so what's the, oh, there's the gringo price, then there's the Brazilian price. So
Yep.
you'll
Yep.
get situations like that. So as long as as long as you're cognizant of that, if you feel like you're getting scammed or whatever, it's best to you either walk away from the deal or speak up about it.
I would agree. I would agree. Absolutely. So, and you said learning Portuguese has it's made your experience in Brazil a lot more comfortable, and it's just been
Absolutely.
better for you to connect. It's just like the Mexicans and the whatever other people that come from other parts of the world come to the United States and they don't know English. Like, yeah, you can succeed in your own community, that 5 or 10 blocks that y'all got, but you can't really ever integrate and really succeed and have the true American experience, which is shit if you ask me. But you can never really have that if you don't know English. But in Brazil, the same thing. If you only hang around Americans, you don't have any Brazilian friends, you don't actually you never really experience Brazil without knowing that Portuguese. And that's what makes it what it is. So what is the expat community like in Rio, and how has it supported you over time? Or have you been the person that's supported since you've been there for so long?
I mean, I've supported and I've received support from, some of the brothers that I've met in Brazil, and some of the people who are, and the other people that in other American expats in Brazil. I mean, we all tend to gravitate towards each other.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't know each other directly, we know of each other. You know what I'm saying? And even when I travel to other cities in Brazil, I may run into an American here or there. And like I said, we tend to gravitate toward each other. But like if we need resources or whatever, or if we need more information about how to do something,